Okay, so here are some chords that I would say if you're going to lead worship, you need to know these chords. Now, some of them are the full version of the chord, some of them are tweaked versions or simplified versions or versions with notes added to them or taken away, etc. But you need to know these. Then you throw on the capo, and basically a capo just raises the pitch or raises the note. So if you put a capo on the first fret, it raises whatever note you're playing from that note to a half a step higher or one note higher. So an E becomes an F on the first fret, or if you're on the third fret, an E becomes a F, F sharp, G. So if you're putting a capo on, basically just raises every one of those notes, however many half steps that you put it on. So then if you play in the key of C, but you put a capo on the third fret, and so then basically your C would end up looking like this. Now you're in E flat. If you put a capo on the fourth fret, your C would now, even though you're playing a C shape, it would come out as an E natural. So that's the idea of the capo. You can just learn G chords, G, C, D, E minor, but then you can only raise, once you put on a capo, you can only raise up from G. What happens if you need to play a song in the key of F? Well, you can't really lower with a capo. You could detune all of your strings, but instead, if you need to play in the key of F, then you would play D-shaped chords and then just put the capo on the third fret, because D plus 3 or 3 half steps would be an F. So that's the idea. So I would say you need to learn the chords in the key of C, in the key of D, the key of E, preferably. You can put that one on the back burner, but E is so easy and it's beautiful. But at least C, D, and G. But again, I would throw in E also. So let me start from the beginning. C. So you got a C chord. A full F chord is a bar, where you're barring the whole thing. But how I play an F, at least in the key of C, this works. Instead of barring, just put, it's very similar to a C chord, just put your first finger on the second string here, second counting from the high strings down to the low. So you'd call this the last string or the sixth string, and that's the first, second. So you put that there. And then your middle finger, second fret, third string, and then fourth and fifth strings on the third fret. So there's your F. You can even pull off your middle finger, and that's a very open sounding chord. Now what this allows you to do is to go from C, you add in your pinky, and drop your middle finger up one, and you go to F. So C, F, C, F, C, F, C, F. Very simple change. Then you can go to a G. So you would, in the key of C, you would learn the 4 chords C, F, G, A minor. They're what's known as the first, fourth, fifth, and sixth notes or chords. So your 1 chord or your first chord, your 4 chord or your fourth chord would be an F. So C, F, G, A minor. So you got your C, you got your F. You can go to just a normal G, or you can take that F and just slide it up 2 frets, like that. So 1, 2 frets, just keep that same shape. So you go C, F, G. And in the middle of a song, that's very often a, depending on the song, wonderful version of that chord. So there you go, C, F, G, back to F. Then your A minor, you're still keeping your fingers right here in the same general area. Keep that first finger on the second string. And then you go from here to here. So I'm on my second fret, third string, and fourth string. There's your A minor. Okay, so you got C, F, G, A minor, or C, F, G, A minor. Those are your 4 chords that you would typically play in the key of C. Every now and then you might see a D or a D minor 7. Every now and then you might see an E minor or an E major, E natural. You might see a few other chords, but those are basically it. So that's your key of C. Now, the great thing about the key of C in a lot of, let's say, pop or country kind of music, you got your hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides that make it sound wonderful. So your C, if you were to hammer on your middle finger to go to the F, to go to the G, slide, G. You can see I'm hammering on with that middle finger or pulling it off. So if you were to play C, F, G, A minor with some hammer-ons, with some slides, you can play it like this. That's the idea. So same group of chords, the 1st, the 4th, 5th, the 6th, in the key of D. So you got your D, which I'm sure you know from the key of G. Then you would have a G. Then an A, which you can play 2, 3, 4 on the 2nd fret, which is normally kind of difficult for me. So I actually bar those 3 strings just using that part of my finger. 1, 2, 3 strings that I just covered right there. There you go. So you got D, G, A, and then a B minor is a full bar chord, okay? Where you're actually not supposed to play that lowest note. You're muting it by just touching it. And really you're playing you're making an A shape, or sorry, an A minor shape, dun, 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 with these fingers, and then barring what on the 2nd fret, what's left behind. So that 1st string and that 5th string, you're barring it. That's a full B minor. However, here's a really easy B minor. If you know your D, and if you have a long thumb, you can wrap that thumb around and push down on your 5th string or your A string. So you go from D to B minor. You're just throwing that in. So D, G, A, B minor. There's a couple different ways of playing B minor. That's how I would play it if I'm in the key of D. D, G, A, B minor, or B minor. So those are your D chords. Now let me show you the G chords. You got G. These are the full chords, okay? I'll show you some other kind of cheating way in a second. But you got your G, C, which I just showed you, D, which I already showed you, and then E minor. Probably the easiest chord to play because you're just pushing down on the 4th and 5th strings on this 2nd fret. So G, C, D, E minor. Now here's a cool thing. In this, let's say you're playing a C. Same way you slid up when you were in the key of C to go from F to G, you can go C, slide up 2 frets to go to D. So that's really nice, especially when you're walking that down. So if you were going D to C, let's say you were playing D, C, G. It's just a nice walk, and you can accomplish that by sliding. And you can do the same hammer-ons. That's the idea, G, C, D, E minor. Now, a really easy way to play the G, C, D, E minor is to keep your pinky on the 1st string on the 3rd fret and your ring finger on the 2nd string on the 3rd fret the whole time. So you go from G, and by the way, it's named the G chord basically because of the notes that make it up, but especially the root note. So the root note would be a G. So So we call that a G chord. Every now and then you might see C/G, and that would mean C. It's a C chord, but it has the bass note of G, which, unless you're picking or unless somebody's playing bass guitar, you don't really need to worry about that. I can show you those, but so I'm gonna keep my pinky and my ring finger on the whole time, and I can play G, C, by just moving those down, one string each, D, again, keep my pinky and ring finger on here the whole time, and then I move down here to the first and the third, which middle finger's not actually doing anything because the pinky is in front of it, meaning that note is gonna win out. So, but when I'm in my D shape here with that pinky on there, I can pull that off to get that kind of sound. And I can pull the middle finger off too and hammer on. See, it's really just one chord, and depending on how you play it, you can kind of make it sound like 3 chords, which is kind of nice. And then for E minor, again, probably the easiest chord. Put those there, and then just keep the pinky and ring finger there. So if you're playing Lord, I Lift Your Name on High, Lord, I lift your name on high. That's about as easy as you can get, just leaving those there. All right, last chords that I'll show you. The key of E. So this is really nice. So you got your E chord here, which is 1st fret, 3rd string, and then basically an E minor with these fingers. So the 4th and 5th on the 2nd fret. Got that E major. Take that very same shape, slide it up to right there. Now you got an A chord, which I'm sliding it up to the 3, 5, 7. Well, actually 6th fret. And the reason why this works is just because of how the guitar is tuned. This is actually an A bar chord. But because of how the guitar is tuned, because both this top and bottom note are already E, I can just leave that off and I can play an E on the 6th fret and it becomes an A. Then I slide up 2 more frets and now it's a B. So you can go E, A, B, without even actually changing your hand at all. So if you're playing Lord, I Lift Your Name on High in this key, B. And I'm just sliding up and down. Then you would see in the key of E, your 4 chords typically would be E, A, B, C sharp minor. So that sounds crazy, but that's a really easy chord as well, especially if you have a larger hand. So for a C sharp minor, I'm gonna go to my 4th fret and play the 5th string. That note is C sharp, because you got A, B, C, C sharp. And then I'm gonna play the 3rd and 4th strings on the 6th fret. There you go. And actually, it's kind of fun. My C sharp minor here, if I slide it down to, that's another way to play a B. And even if I slide it up here to the 7th fret, that's another way to play E. So when the key of E, just because of how the strings themselves are tuned, you have a lot of options to go from E, A, B, C sharp minor, or E, A, B, C sharp minor. And I'll show you one more just for the fun of it. Up here on the 9th fret, that's another way to play a C sharp minor. So I'm on the 3rd string here on the 9th fret, and then the 4th and 5th on the 11th fret. And you can even wrap your thumb around to catch that. That's actually the note C sharp. So you can go E, A, B, C sharp, minor. I'm not as good at that one. But anyways, my point in the key of E is you got a lot of options. Okay? And the chords are all very open, which is nice. So you play in the key of C, play in the key of D, play in the key of G, and play in the key of E. When you throw a capo on there, you can play literally any key by only capoing on the first, second, third, fourth, you know, down here. You don't have to worry about capoing way up here and it sounding like a mandolin. You don't do that. There you go. There's some chords for worship guitar.